Hi there, this is Greg Herder. I'd like to welcome you to another one of my monthly coaching webinars. Can you believe it? It's already August 25th, 2014. Where does the time go? I hope your year is turning out exactly the way you wanted it to. Now, before we go to work, I just want to make sure that we cover some basic logistics here. The first thing I want to make sure is that you can hear me. And next to the screen here, there should be a little place where you can say yes, no, and it should say, can you hear me? And just fill in a little box, yes or no. And I'll be able to see if you can hear me. All right, I see the vast majority of you are clicking on yes, you can hear me. That's great. Now I see two people that look like they can't hear me. For those that can't hear me, make sure your computer volume is turned up. Of course, you probably can't hear me tell you that, so hopefully you'll figure that out. But since the vast majority of you can hear me, we're going to go ahead and get started. Now today, I want to talk to you about what makes life worthwhile. Now I know this is a big picture topic, and some people instantly shy away from it. But I think it's important every now and then to simply ask, what really does make life work well? If you were to boil it all out to what makes the biggest difference in your life working well, financially, socially, personally, so that your life tastes good, feels good, you have high productivity, you create a treasure trove of experiences and values in your life, what would you say it would be? And if your life is not working exactly the way you want it to, what would you check to say, well, maybe this is the problem? And if you fine-tune that, then you can get it back on track. Now, I would love to know what each and every one of you think the most important thing to work on is to make life worthwhile. But today we don't have time to share each other's opinion. So I'm going to share with you what I think the single most important thing to work on so that you have the best chance for an amazing life. Now, it is my opinion, and I know that. It's just my opinion. And today, I hope all of you will be students, not followers. Listen to what I have to say, then listen to others. Read, listen to voices of value. Then analyze it for yourself and come up with your own conclusions. This will make such a huge difference. I want all of your thinking to lead to your own conclusions. Well, in my opinion, the number one thing to make your life work well, to work on, is refining your personal philosophy. Now, when I first heard Jim Rohn say that the way our life turns out is determined by our philosophy, I thought to myself, what exactly does he mean? I thought capitalism was a philosophy, communism was a philosophy, that Kant had a philosophy. But I never thought I had a philosophy. But each of us has a personal philosophy, and our philosophy is what runs our life. It's like the software for our mind. It is always running in the background, and unless we consciously look at it, think about it, and then refine it, it will take us places that we do not want to go. I have found that unless we think about and refine our philosophy, we are passively drawn through life, bouncing from one circumstance to another, just trying to get through life instead of trying to get the most out of our life. That way, if you really think about it, if you're not happy with something in your life, you can change it. The choice is up to you. If there is one thing worse than electing to remain where you are, it's failing to make a choice. Choose to change or not to change, but make a choice. And what you need to change is your philosophy. So, how do we really get started on this? Well, there are two important things to understand about your current philosophy. Your current philosophy is the summation of all your past experience, all your past learning, all your past knowledge. Now, a lot of it got there from watching your parents, friends, other people around you. And if they did not have a powerful, successful philosophy, you probably picked some things that were not helping your life work well today. The good news is that starting today, right this very minute, you never have to be the same again. You can take charge of your life and change and refine and mold your philosophy so that it serves you. Human beings have been granted this amazing, unique ability which no other member of the animal kingdom possesses. The ability to choose their philosophy for life. If you ask a duck, why do you fly south in the winter? They will say it's the genetic code. See, in the winter, a duck flies south. They can't fly east, they can't fly west, they can't fly north because the genetic code tells them this is what you need to do. You have the gift of choice. But that allows you to tear up this life script. Say, gosh, I'm going to do whatever I want to. I can figure out how to make my life work the way I want it to. It's by exercising the gift of choice that we alter what we have in the past. You see, life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by choice. If you put a dog in a patch of weeds, you'll end up with a patch of weeds. But if you put a human being in a patch of weeds, and he has a philosophy to grow a garden, he can apply his talent, his knowledge, his skills, and transform the patch of weeds into a garden. Humans can turn nothing into something, pennies into fortune, disaster into success, because they choose the philosophy they live by. Humans are truly remarkable creatures this way. You can change anything. You choose to change. If you don't like how it is for you, change it. If it doesn't suit you, change it. If it doesn't please you, change it. If it isn't enough, change it. If you don't like your present address, change it. You are not a tree. You don't ever have to be the same again except by choice. Today, choose to break off the rearview mirror to the past. Stop living in it and make a commitment to concentrate instead on the window of the future. It will make all the difference in the world. Now, where you really want to start is by looking at your philosophy on personal development. If you want your life to work out better, most of what we have at this moment is what we have attracted by the person we have become. Now, let me give you the great promise of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you currently are. Of course, the other side of this coin says, unless how you change how you are, you will always have exactly what you have. Most of us tend to be a little mixed up about this. We look at two realtors and ask, how can they work in the same company, in the same marketplace, have similar clients, and one makes $5,000 a month, and one makes $50,000 a month? What's the difference? Now, they are both bright, talented people, both have wonderful families, and both want to do well. Now, some agents look at them and say, well, that agent has a lot more time. If I had all the time they had, I could do well. Now, how crazy is that? Write this down. I have found that both rich agents and poor agents get exactly the same amount of time every day. There is 24 hours each and every day, and whether you're rich or poor, successful or unsuccessful, happy or sad, you have the same 24. If you're looking for extra time, now you can hang around the clock at midnight looking for a few more minutes, but if you keep trying this, they will soon take you away. See, there is no extra time. We all have exactly the same amount. What we need to understand is that the answer is found in the philosophy of people that have time. See, rich agents have a philosophy of time. The top agents has a philosophy that says, let me spend the vast majority of my time on the few things that make the biggest difference to my results, to the quality of my life, to the quality of my relationships. The average agent is working hard doing things that are not truly important. They end up spending major time on minor things. And the minor things get them off track. And then they're all bent out of shape because they don't have enough time. But they spend huge amounts of time sweating a change in office policy, government policy. See, rich people don't have time to get caught up in all that because they know it will take their focus on what really makes a difference. See, and they're focused on saying, how can I bring value to the marketplace? And on the bottom line, value is what makes the difference in results, in income. It's the value you bring to the marketplace. The good news is this. You can always create more value. This is the first lesson of economics. You get paid primarily for bringing value to the marketplace, regardless of whether you work as a typist, a salesperson, a doctor, a business executive, or a realtor. We get paid in direct relationship to the perceived value that the market places on what we do. Now, I understand it's a perceived value, that there's really no difference in the value of one human being versus another. I'm sure every one of you are valuable spouses, fathers, sisters, brothers. You're valuable human beings, but we get paid in the perception that people perceive the value of what we do. We pay an actor a huge amount of money because we perceive they provide value. They entertain large numbers of people. Now, I also understand that it takes time to perform a service or bring that value to the marketplace. In fact, many people think they are paid on how much time they work, how many hours they put into a given week. Now, I need you to understand you don't get paid for the time you spend. Sometimes people get confused by this because when you ask them, how much are you making an hour? They'll say, I'm making $30 an hour. Well, you're not paid for the hour. If you were paid for the hour, you could stay at home and then just have them send you the money. We are paid the $30 not for the hour, but for the value we put into the hour. Since this is true, here's a key question worth considering. Is it possible to become twice as much? Let me rephrase that. Is it possible to become twice as valuable in the marketplace so that you make twice as much money in the same amount of time? And the answer is, of course. But the key is to go to work primarily on yourself. And that's the whole point of my webinar today. You have to learn to work primarily on yourself. Probably one of the most frustrating experiences in life is looking for an above-average job with an above-average pay without first becoming an above-average person with an above-average philosophy. Unfortunately, most people's philosophy is focused on what they are getting instead of what they are becoming. One agent says, well, if the commission split is so low, why should I go out of the way to work as hard as I can, support my broker in every way I can, work as hard as I possibly can for my clients, and work as hard as I can to be the best agent I possibly can? Another agent, same office, same marketplace, has a different philosophy that says, no matter what the commission split is, I will always do more than what I'm paid for. I will constantly look for ways to better serve my clients, better serve my broker, the fellow agents I work with. They understand that by always demanding more of themselves than anyone else could reasonably expect of them, it'll change everything. See, that's a powerful philosophy. It will take you a whole different direction. So the question is, what is your philosophy about how hard you should work? One philosophy is to try and do as little as you possibly can, or as little as you can get away with. See, the guy comes in late, takes a 2-hour lunch, leaves early, and thinks, oh my goodness, I'm getting paid a full day's wages for a half day's work. And he thinks he's got it wired. But little does he know that that philosophy is sowing the seeds of pain, destruction in so many areas of life. If you want your life to work well, here's what I found you have to do. Develop an above average philosophy about work, about labor. You know, we have this philosophy that says, gosh, 5 and 2. 5 days labor, 2 days rest. You know, I don't know if that's a great philosophy or not. I mean, I want you to think about it. 5 and 2 is probably not bad, but I want you to think about the direction of where these philosophies are taking us. Some people say, what about 4-3? Well, what about 4-3? Well, if you take it to all the way down, what does that really do? It says, well, gosh, I never work and I get everything. See, and we say, well, yeah, that's probably not, I'm not going to take it that far. But you have to find that balance. At one extreme, you can work incredibly hard, get nothing. Other one, you don't do any work, get everything. Where's the balance? Let me give you an Old Testament philosophy. Now, I'm not an expert on the Bible, but in the good book, it said 6 days labor, 1 day rest. That's an interesting philosophy. 6 days labor, 1 day rest. Now, we've got it down to 5 and 2, and maybe that's okay. God can't think of everything when he puts these things together. But see, here's what I want you to do. I want you to develop a philosophy that says, I should make rest a necessity, not an objective. I believe that we were built for high activity. And work as hard as you possibly can when you're at work. And then, when you're away, rest. See, and this is a philosophical choice. The best advice I can give you is you want to develop an above average philosophy about everything you have in life. From simple little things. What's your philosophy on handshakes? Now, it starts there. Develop a philosophy about smiling. A philosophy about your excitement, your enthusiasm. Develop an above average interest in other people. Develop an above average marketing philosophy, a follow-up philosophy. Develop an above average philosophy for intensity. And it's amazing what you can do. If you do this, it will change everything. If you wish to be wealthy, happy, successful for the rest of your life, you have to learn to work harder on yourself, on your philosophy, than you do on your job. Now, what I found is that most people are hard workers on their job. The problem is they're not working on themselves. Write this down. For things to change for you, you have to change. You can say, Greg, you don't understand. This happened to me, and this happened to me, and I went through this divorce, and I got sick, and this happened, and this happened. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. We all have the happenings. I'm here to tell you, it's not what happens that determines the quality of your life. It's what you do about what happens. We all have the happenings. 2 people from the same family. One does amazingly well, one does not. Why? They had about the same happenings. But one chose to take control of their life, the other let life control them. People come from incredibly difficult, challenging backgrounds and choose to overcome them. Other people have problems that don't seem to be that great, and it crushes them. It's a choice that every one of us are making every single day. My mentor, Jim Rohn, said, Greg, work harder on yourself than you do on your job, and it will change everything. And I found this is true. Once you really grasp this reality, you'll understand that the major key to your better future is you. See, I used to think it was all those things out there. I think, gosh, if I could just change my negative relatives, if I could just change my broker, if I could change the government policy. And I see so many people trying so hard to change everything out there, everything around them. An agent says, if I could just change my client, if I could just change my broker, if I could just change their policies, if I get the government to change, give it up. Let me tell you right now, you'll be frustrated for your entire life until you try to give up changing what's out there. Now, I want to talk about some basic laws. Everybody should understand the basic laws that govern our existence. There's the law of electricity, the law of gravity. There are mathematical laws, physical laws, agricultural laws, speed and velocity laws. Now, you can do some very spectacular things if you learn to use these laws. Well, in this life, there's also what I call the life setup that you need to understand. And if you don't understand them, it can cause you huge problems. So let's start by sort of correcting some big misconceptions. We've all heard the statement, what you don't know can't hurt you. See, that's not true. What you don't know can hurt you, will hurt you, even though you didn't know. What happens if a guy walks off the roof of a 7-story building, falls to his death? But now we say, oh, gosh, he just didn't know. He didn't know if he walked off the building, he'd fall down, get killed. See, what you don't know can hurt you. And so you want to make sure you get the knowledge. You want to understand the setup. It's important to understand the setup so that you can maximize your productivity here. So let's get to the basic laws that we all need to be using in our life every day. The first law is that the reasons for change come first. Answers come second. And this is hard for some people to get. They want to know, gosh, well, I'll change if I can see every step along the way, if I know exactly what the outcome is going to be. But see, most of us are more comfortable staying where we are and dealing with the challenges and frustrations that we already have instead of finding new ones. But if you want to change, the first thing you have to do is say, why do I want to change? What's your reasons for change? So let me ask you, what are the reasons that you want to do well? I really want you to think about this. Because if you can't articulate your reasons for changing, for doing better, it won't help. So I want to do a little exercise. If you had a good reason to do something that just got you up early, kept you up late, you could do the most remarkable things. And now, that will make all the difference. If you have ability, plenty of intelligence, and you're not where you want to be, probably what you lack are plenty of reasons to change. Now, this is one of the things that we've got it pretty good. Here in America, we've got it pretty good. And so, because we've got it pretty good, most of us settle for, oh, I've got a decent life, instead of going for what we really want, going for really great. So what are some of the reasons that people want to do really well? Well, let's start with some basic ones. Personal reasons. I have a good friend of mine. He's a multimillionaire. I ask him, Dave, what drives you to do so incredibly well? What motivates you? And he says, when I grew up, I suffered from malnutrition, hunger. He said, I wanted to never, ever feel that way again. And it drives him to this day. Sometimes people just want the feeling of being a winner. Sometimes it's the joy of earning the respect and recognition of our peers, the people we care about. For others, it's the intense feeling of pride and satisfaction that brings great pleasure. For some people, it can be family reasons. Some people get excited about their ability to provide well for their family, sending their children to the finer schools, economically supporting their spouse in ways they'd always secretly longed to. And I want you to realize some people are driven by their just desire to express their talents artistically. Sometimes providing the extras for a loving parent, your gratitude, whatever it is that drives you. These can all be compelling reasons. There's benevolent reasons. There's reasons for each one of you that are different. The question to you is, what drives you? Would you like to be in a position where you have more time to devote to community projects, giving back, whatever that is? Maybe it's a charity, maybe it's medical research, maybe it's higher learning. Wherever you want to make a difference, see, if you get in touch with those reasons, it can have a huge, huge impact. Maybe it's the lure of a certain lifestyle, a certain car, going to certain places. Now, we can give you an endless variety of reasons, but here's the thing. None of them are important until they're yours. They can't be mine. They can't be your spouse's. They can't be your kids. They have to be yours. What I would like you to do right now is just take a minute and write down all of the reasons that you want to do well over the next year. Just jot down a couple of the big ones. Now, once you have your reasons down, ask, what of your current abilities do you need to improve to make that a reality? Then, jot down what new skills you think you need to learn to make that a reality. What weaknesses do you currently have that you need to weed out? Because we have the capacity to change ourselves. We have the capacity to change the direction of our lives. However, we are never given a promise without given a challenge. The challenge is, unless we make a disciplined, determined effort to change, we'll always have exactly what we've got. So write this down. For things to change for you, you have to change, but you have to want to change. For things to get better for you, you've got to get better. Once you really understand this, you will understand that the major key to your better future is you. It's not all those things out there. And the sooner you learn to take total, full responsibility for your better future, the sooner your better future will begin. Now, you can try and change your boss, your spouse, your friends, office policies. You can try and change the economy, but your time and energy are going to be much better spent on something that you can change. By changing yourself. This is so critically important. Once we understand that we are the key to change, everything starts to open up to us. Here's what I've also found. Your income rarely exceeds your personal development. Now, some agents go to the office and they work hard, they do their job well, and then they drive home, they're wondering why they're not getting ahead. Often in frustration, they quit. Change companies. Say, I'm going to find a new broker. They start the whole process all over again. But now they get the same lack of results, the same frustration. Perhaps you've experienced the same process, jumping from broker to office, broker to broker, office to office, job to job. You see, you may be in a new job, have a new broker, a new set of circumstances. But the one important element that hasn't changed is you. You take you with you everywhere you go. And your results will be predictable and disappointing unless you change. So the solution to doing well in the marketplace, improving your situation, is to simply go to work on yourself. Ask anyone how many hours a week they spend on their job, and the answer is usually somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 hours. But an even more important question to ask that we seldom ask is, how many hours a week do you spend working on yourself? So how do we get better? Well, by first gathering knowledge, by soaking up everything we can, reading consistently. Now you've got to be willing to pay the price of increasing your value. And you've got to do this enthusiastically. Otherwise, you'll never change. You've got to sacrifice an hour of watching TV to read something on a subject of financial independence before you can actually aspire to be financially independent. And that is only the beginning. It may take 100 hours of sacrifice and study, or 500 or 1,000. It may take 1 year, 5 years, or a lifetime, but remember, the years won't care. The years are going to go by whether you sacrifice and study or whether you don't. Adopt the philosophy I mentioned before. Always demand more of yourself than any boss could reasonably expect from you. Everyone has their own challenges, but if you demand more of yourself, hold yourself to a higher standard than anybody else. Hold yourself to a higher standard than your spouse could possibly hold you to, than your kids could possibly hold you to. Then everything in your life will change. Don't wait for someone else to come along and change it for you. Because in the final analysis, you're the only one that can do this. More important than the salary you are earning and the number of years or experience you have is what are you becoming through your activity today. It's through disciplined effort that you make the changes. The discipline is the beginning of all human progress. If there is one thing in particular that is worth getting excited about, it's your ability to make yourself do things necessary to achieve the desired results. You can change old habits, develop new patterns because you exercise the discipline it takes to make the changes in your life. This is the beginning of all human progress. Now, here's what I found. It only takes a little bit of discipline to set aside an hour a day to read. It takes a little bit of discipline to learn how to discipline the negative emotions, the fears, the doubts. But let me tell you, the payoff is absolutely huge. See, because here's what fakes us out. It's easy not to do these things. How many of you heard of the philosophy that an apple a day keeps the doctor away? Let me ask you, what if that is true? Would it be relatively easy to eat an apple a day? Everybody says, well, of course, it would be easy to eat an apple a day. So the question is, are you doing it? Start with the easy things. Eat an apple a day. Start with the apple a day before you start saying, gosh, I need to run a marathon. Say, how do I do the little things that will move me in the direction that I want to go? Every disciplined effort will reap bountiful rewards. Now, the key to discipline is to start with those small little things and work your way up to major accomplishments. Life will provide you with plenty of opportunities for handling major challenges when you learn how to handle the minor challenges first. Right now, do this exercise with me. Choose 5 things that you can work on right away to develop your self-discipline. It doesn't matter how small they are. Your list might include hanging up a bath towel instead of leaving them on the floor. Remember, it doesn't really matter what you work on. The discipline it takes to pick it up, put the towel on the rack, is the same discipline it takes to complete a major project, to save money, to develop better thinking habits, better relationships, better communication habits. What we are concerned with is developing the habit of discipline in all areas of life. It's just not the results that are needed, but it is the practice. The guy that walks out of his house in the morning and says, I'm going to the office and I'm going to change the world, but his garage is a disaster, is kidding himself. Realize there is nothing more detrimental than making a promise to yourself that you don't keep. This is the someday honey syndrome. Eventually, unfulfilled promises cost us the respect of our friends, our loved ones. It costs us credibility in the marketplace and ultimately our own self-respect. And with a loss of respect comes a decline in confidence, which starts us on a downward spiral towards certain failure. It is important to be aware of all the promises we make and then follow through on them all. So the question is, when are you going to write the letter you've promised to send? When are you going to complete the report, fix the toaster, take your daughter to buy those new shoes? We generally make promises for one of 2 reasons. Because we intend to do what we have, or because it temporarily leaves us from responding to a negative situation. Sometimes we make promises to family members in order to restore harmony. Sometimes we make promises to a friend simply to make ourselves look better. Sometimes we make promises to ourselves just to ease the burden of a guilty conscience. What I want you to remember is, think about the things that you haven't done. Take just a few minutes and write down the things that you've promised that you haven't completed. Look over the list you have made and consider the following. What if the real reason for making the promise? What is it? The difference between your intention or motive and your actual ability to fulfill the promise. This is huge. Now consider this. If you fulfill the promise, how and when do you intend to do it? If you cannot fulfill the promise, do you have the courage to be honest with the person that you made the promise to and say, I can't do it? If you do this, let me tell you, it'll provide so much energy. In going through this exercise, I hope you've learned something about yourself and your tendencies, and if you start watching them, now you can start refining your philosophy. See, you have to look at it, study your own behaviors and say, okay, what's that a result of my philosophy? And this brings us to another critical law. And the law of use says that whatever you don't use, you lose. Now, this is so important to understand. If you take some duct tape your right arm to your body so you cannot use it. You leave it there for 3-6 months. Your arm will atrophy. It'll become useless. Eventually, you'd even lose the arm. See, whatever you don't use, you lose. Faith, unused, dissipates. Energy, unused, dissipates. Somebody says, gosh, I'm going to save up my energy. No, you can't do that. See, you can't say, well, for the next week, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit on the couch, save it up for the end of the year. No, you sit on the couch at the end of the week. Guess what? The following week, your energy is less. See, whatever you don't use. If you have an idea and you don't use it, let me tell you, it goes away. Learn from the great parable. The good book says there was a wise man. He had 3 servants, and he was going on a trip, and he gave one of them 5 talents. One of them he gave 2 talents, and one of them he gave 1 talent to. He went, left. Now, back then, a talent was a measure of money, a measure of gold, something of value. He left, was gone for a long time. Now he came back, gathered up his servants, and said, how did it go? The guy he gave 5 talents to said, gosh, it went well. It was a little shaky at first. I invested the money, did this, did that. But now it multiplied, and I've got 10 talents. Second guy said, listen, went the same way. So a little shaky at first, but I started with 2, invested it, did. Now I've got 4. Now, the guy that he gave 1 talent to said, how did it go? The guy said, listen, I took that talent. I buried it safely and hid it. And I knew you were coming today, so I dug it up, and here it is. I never lost it. Now, the good book says the master went a little berserk. He looked at the guy that kept the 1 talent, and he said, take it away from him. Give it to the guy that's got 10 talents. Now, so many people say, well, that doesn't seem fair. He's only got 1 talent. But guess what? He didn't use it. He squandered it. He didn't take advantage of the opportunity. And of course, a wise master is going to give it to the guy that got 10 talents because he's going to have to take care of this poor guy, since he can't do it for himself. See, we've got to make sure we're using the skills, the talents, and ask yourself, what's your philosophy? Are you using every one of your talents to its fullest capacity every day? Another one of the basic laws that is critical to understand is that whatever you sow, you will reap. Eventually, all of our actions will produce some future results, just as most seeds once planted will eventually sprout. If you sow well, you will reap well. Now, if you sow poorly, you're going to reap poorly. Since the results are obtained are dependent upon the quality and quantity of our action, there is only one person to blame if you're not satisfied with the crop. And this is you. See, and so this is so important to get. Now, if you've listened to a number of my webinars, you know I love the parable of the sower. So let's think about what the parable of the sower is all about. See, a lot of agents are mixed up about this law. When I first heard about it, I was confused as well. I knew that I was not reaping very well, but I was confused about why I was not reaping well. Until Jim pointed out another way to quote the law. So that it helped me clarify the causes behind my meager harvest. He said that whatever you are currently reaping is a result of what you have sown in the past. If you don't like the crop, pray tell, whom do you tell? That's right, the person who planted it. I found the best place to find that person is in the mirror. At the end of the year, you have to look in the mirror and evaluate the year's harvest. If you're not impressed with the harvest for the year, you have to ask the tough questions. What am I going to sow in the months ahead that will now create a bountiful harvest next year? Because if I do the same thing, didn't get the result, it's probably not going to change. Now, in the parable of the sower, it says the sower was so bright, he got up early and go out to the field and plant. He got up early. Now, to me, there is no reason not to do well in America. I mean, America is easy. Now, if you lived in Bangladesh, I might say, gosh, you got a challenge. But here, it's easy. You just got to work hard. Now, here's what you've got to do. Find something you can do. You have a unique set of talent skills. Now, here's what you've got to do. Once you find something you can do, work hard at it. So you got to get up early. Work hard at it. Give it your best effort. This is a huge philosophical adjustment for many of you, but it makes such a huge difference. Now, the parable also says that the sower took excellent seed. In real estate, that's your marketing story. See, we call this your strategic brand advantage. It's the story that you tell in your brochure on your website. It's the quality of the marketing materials that's reflected in the emotional connections they are making. Is your story authentic? Is the look and feel of your marketing materials a reflection of who you are as a human being? Without great seeds to plant, your chances for success to go down dramatically. I am often shocked at the seeds many agents take to the field in the real estate business. You look at their marketing materials, the flyers, and think, my goodness, they expect to get outstanding results from these? Now, the story says that he started to sow, and some of the seed fell on hard, rocky ground. And before the seeds even had a chance to take root, the birds swooped in and ate some of the seeds. The birds are all the negative influences in our lives. They might be a negative friend that tells you real estate will never work for you. It might be that inner voice of self-doubt. I'm not good enough to really deserve success. It might be a negative client that tells you that you're not doing enough to help them. The voice of doubt about the marketplace, the economy, that stops us from wanting to keep planting more seeds. And what you have to do is realize the birds of life are always there. The story says the guy was so wise, he kept on planting. He didn't chase the birds. Some agents get so bent out of shape, the birds swoop their opportunities, and they're out now chasing birds instead of planting the seeds. Don't get caught up in chasing birds. The story says some of the seed now fell in shallow soil, and the seeds started to grow. But on the first hot day, they withered and died. Buyers that seemed very motivated one day, and then at the least little setback, negative news, challenges, they disappear. Now, what do you do about that? You can try and tell people, gosh, no. But what you have to realize is that it was just shallow ground. Now, you can't change the ground. There's bedrock under it. You can't do it. You can't go out and change people. The negative Nellies are always going to be there. Don't try and make a negative Nelly positive. You'll kill yourself trying. The story says the sower was so bright, he kept on sowing. And some of the seed fell on fertile ground. And the sower watered and nurtured the seeds all summer. And an amazing thing happened. Some of the seed produces 30 bushels, some 60, and some 90. Isn't that the way it works? You get a variety of results from the exact same activity. Some agents will say, I just want to sow my seed where I'm going to get 90 bushels. That has the potential for the best results. The problem is, you really don't have a way of figuring that out. You don't ever do that. It's just not the way that it works on this planet. See, going out and planting, ignoring the birds, the shallow soil, and sowing in the fertile ground will give you the best chance to win and win big. And you will get this even though you're getting a variety of returns. Some of your past clients won't send you a referral. Some will send you 1 a year. Some will send you 5 referrals a year. Some will send you 25. See, and you can't say, well, gosh, everybody should send me 5. See, it's just not the way it works. I want to give you a few keys to putting the law of sowing and reaping together because it'll make a huge difference for you in your real estate career. First of all, understand that the law is both positive and negative. If you sow poorly, you will reap poorly. Now, this sounds basic, but many agents have forgotten about the law, so they are busy complaining about the marketplace, the government, the office policies, and even the weather. And now they lack productivity. They stopped all their marketing, stopped calling past clients, stopped holding open houses, stopped doing anything. They stopped sending out 5 new brochures a day to for sale by owners. 5 new expireds, following the expired program. I mean, guys, look at what Tony Slowick from Sky Realty has done. He's been doing the expired, the for sale by owner program a year, and it's working incredibly well. See, it's so easy to get complaints you're doing well, say, well, I'm going to stop and putting people into it. But now your business goes down. Now, they say, well, gosh, the marketplace has changed. No, they aren't sowing. I want you to realize that no matter what's going on in the marketplace, if you stay focused on sowing your seed, you will reap outstanding results. Now, remember, the law is also positive. If you plant well, you will reap well. If you take the successful actions of productivity, you are going to get the payoff. Now, it's not instant. Remember, you have to nurture, weed, seed, plant, love, water all summer long to get the harvest. And most agents aren't that patient. They say, well, gosh, I sent out my brochure to 50 people yesterday. Nobody has called me back. I guess that didn't work. I sent out a just listed. I ran 1 ad on Facebook. Gosh, it's not an ad. It's doing something consistently. Now, the next part of the law says that you do not reap what you sow, but rather you reap much more than you sow. The key concept is that you not get back what you plant, you get back much more. See, if you had a cup of corn seed, and you planted it, and you got a couple back at the end of the year, you'd say, why did I go through all the effort? But you don't get just a seed. You get a multiple of results. You plant a seed, you get 30, 50, 90 bushels. A huge return. Now, remember that this is both positive and negative. If you sow the negative side, let me tell you, you sow a little anger, you'll reap a whirlwind. Ask Tiger Woods about this. I bet he will tell you that he is not immune from this law. The good news is that it also works on the positive side. If you plant just a little bit of great corn, you'll get so much in the payoff. If you plant some great marketing seeds, get your strategic brand out there, get your brand out there, nurture, build the relationship all summer with your clients. Let me tell you, your business will make you incredibly wealthy. Now, I also want you to know there are many ways to sow. And nobody has the perfect answer for everybody. Everybody's a little different. You have choice. The paradox is that people have so many choices they don't do anything. What I want you to do is figure out what you can do, what works for you, and then go out there and work hard at it. See, this is a philosophy that will make such a huge difference. I want you to make sure you're applying this. There is no reason for you not to do well here. There are too many things that you can do. This is not Africa. There are too many seminars, too many books, too much support, too much capital, too much opportunity not to do well here in America. And remember that anyone can sow, so anyone can reap. Now remember, if you don't sow, you will not reap. Some of you understand that, and some of you don't. Once you really understand that, you may come to the conclusion that, gosh, I'd better get me some sowing going. So let me ask you this. If right now you showed me your sowing plan, that's your game plan for the year ahead. Here's my game plan for my real estate career, for my marketing, my activity. Here's my game plan for my relationships. My relationship with my wife, my spouse. Would I be blown away with your plan? Would I say, oh my goodness, what a plan. This is outstanding. I can learn from that. See, once you got a great plan, you can hardly contain your excitement about the year ahead. But if it's not that great of a plan, you aren't going to be that excited to change, to go, to make the effort. So why don't you have a better plan? See, this is part of your philosophy. Next, you've got to ask yourself, do you have excellent seed? Do you not only have an excellent plan, but do you have an excellent story to tell? The excellent seed. This is your strategic brand advantage. Do all your marketing materials look and feel the same? Are they reinforcing that same core message? Or are you settling for what's just easy and convenient? Jot this down. Success is normally inconvenient. Success does not show up after a lazy Saturday morning of sleeping in until noon. People all the time ask me, well, Greg, how much should I sow? How much should I work out there? Let me give you the magic answer. As much as you possibly can. Learn from Mother Nature. She's a good teacher. How tall does a tree grow? It grows as tall as it can. It doesn't hit 5 feet and say, gosh, I think this is tall enough. I think I'll take a year off. Just relax. No, a tree will grow as tall as it possibly can for as long as it possibly can. If you follow the same philosophy, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. Learn to never give up. I call it the ant theory. See, let me ask you this. As a parent, how long do you give your average child to learn how to walk? Before you say, listen, you aren't getting it. I'm not going to let you try anymore. And every time they try, you stop them. No. See, your child is going to learn how to walk because they're going to keep trying. You're going to keep encouraging them until they walk. What a magic formula. No wonder almost everybody on the planet walks, because people work until. What a magic philosophy. Think about it. I mentioned the ant theory. If you block an ant, what are they going to do? They're going to go around it, block them again. They're going to find another way. Block them again. They're going to find another way. They are going to keep trying, keep going, trying to figure out another way, and they are going to find it or they are going to die. They try as long as they possibly can. Now, no wonder there are more ants on the planet than any other animal. It's estimated there are 4 quadrillion ants on the planet. Are you willing to act like an ant? The other magic of ants is ants are always thinking winter and summer. Things are going well, but they're thinking, gosh, it's not going to last. We need to prepare. And they're always preparing for the winter. And in the winter, they're thinking, gosh, it can't be that much more winter. Summer's coming soon. And they're focused on what they can do in the summer. See, they're always thinking ahead. See, it's easy to get faked out. Gosh, the marketplace is doing pretty well right now. And we're making money. We're doing good. Blue sky. But let me tell you, when you're doing well, now's the time to prepare for the storms that are going to come. Because they're going to come again. Trust me on this. See, it's easy to build your house on the sand during the summer. But what you need to do is find a rock. Build your house on the rock because guess what? Come fall, winter, there's going to be some storms. And if you built well, prepared well, you'll be able to weather them with no problem. So always be thinking ahead. Now to wrap this up today, so that we really provide meaning to this, look at the things in your life that you would like to work better and ask, what is my philosophy about them? What do I need to change in my philosophy that can make a difference for me in the year ahead? And then start to change it. Start small. Gosh, you wake up and say, gosh, I need to lose a few pounds. Don't try and go on a massive diet. Say, you know what? Let me just eat smaller portions. Let me start walking just around the block today. Then twice. Let me start making little changes. Let me pick up. Let me do this. Let me start with those little disciplines so that now it leads me to where I want to go. Let me start passing out a brochure a day. As I work my way up to 10 brochures a day and eventually 1,000 brochures a month like we talk about in the 90-day prospecting plan. Those will make such a huge difference for you. Now, I hope you found this valuable today. And I noticed that we have used up our entire hour. And to me, this is such important information. Because to me, once Jim helped me understand where I was making some of the changes, or where I was off track, I could make some of the changes that changed every aspect of my life. And I hope you will take this information and make changes in your life. Now, since we are out of time today, I really don't have time to take questions. But if you will type a question in your question box, I promise, probably tomorrow, maybe later this afternoon, I will sit down and write you an answer. I will try and get to them as soon as I possibly can. And remember, we're here for you. If you need help with anything, drop me an email. I'm easy to get a hold of. My email is greg.herder@hobbsherder.com. Google me. Go to my Facebook page. Ask me a question. And then give me feedback. I would love to know, was this valuable for you today? Was this meaningful? Then I love the people that are here every single month. The people from Sky, Peggy, Dave, some of these people, I'm always amazed. I was just talking to Peggy Lucas. I think she's been to like 32 of my seminars now. 32 of my 3-day seminars. It's like, oh my goodness. She could probably teach it, probably do a better job than I could. And she's still learning and growing. See, that's what you want to do. How do I always get better? Even though I'm doing well, how do I push myself to get that little bit better? Make sure you're working on your philosophy, pushing yourself to be the very best that you can be. And it will change everything in your life. I want to thank you for spending an hour with me this morning. I look forward to reading your comments. Unfortunately, I do have to run, but thank you very much, and God bless.